we've all had that client that is just, it's just a miserable client to work with, right? Nothing aligns. Everything's always like the smallest problems become like blown out of proportion. And then on the other side, we've all had clients where it's just amazing. Everything's
It's seamless, a very seamless process.
Yeah, everything's easy.
Yeah.
Any problem, big or small, that comes up, all good. We'll figure it out together. Right?
It's all in sync and yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like we talk to obviously a lot of builders, and builders tell us the same thing, right? They just want to like attract ideal clients. Ideal clients, when we ask what does an ideal client mean to you, a lot of the time they say, well, it's someone we just get along with. It's like, I'm going to quote the castle here, the vibe. It's all about the vibe. So yeah, I guess, in today's podcast, I really want to like get in your head, get what's in your head out there, and really help and provide value for our clients and listeners listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
So,
That's good.
So it's about creating familiarity with ideal clients. But yeah, before we get into it, like, what does creating familiarity mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if we plain simply take it back a step and go, familiarity is when you're obviously familiar with something, you're used to something, you're comfortable with something. So if you think about like that one really good friend that you have, as an example, where you can just call them up or catch up with them and it's just easy, it's because you're familiar with them. You're familiar with, you guys have things in common. So that's where the familiarity comes in.
Yeah, cool. And I mean, probably, like, it's funny, whenever I do personality tests, I'm an introvert. And when I go to parties or whatever, man, I am awkward, especially if I don't know anyone. And as soon as I get to the party, my eyes are like scoping the room and I'm looking for familiarity. I'm looking for my friends.
Great example.
As soon as I see someone that I'm familiar with, boom, I lock eyes. That's the target. I walk over there. Anyone new, it's tough.
Yeah. And so why does that happen? Like, why do we as humans tend to flock that way?
I'm not sure. But I mean, I struggle with it. Like, I struggle talking to anyone new. It's real hard. And I think that's the same when it comes to business, right? If you are attracting clients or, you're doing business with clients that you're not familiar with and you don't have that bond, even though you've spent a lot of time together, it's not happening. There's no spark. Then it's just going to be hard. And I think that's why we've got to come back to like, you want to attract your ideal clients. Yeah. You want to attract friends almost.
That's right. Because if you think about it, like if you attracted people that, like that's the ultimate goal, is to attract people that you love work with. And the more and more you can do that, the more and more you're going to buy back time. You're going to enjoy what you do. But I think that's the hardest thing is ultimately getting your business there where every client you work with is so seamless.
Yeah.
But you can always work towards that. I feel like you're always going to have the clients that are tough, but you can always work towards having every client like that just connects with you seamlessly.
Yeah. And I guess, bringing this back to like marketing and sales, creating that friendship can happen a lot earlier than you doing multiple meetings with that particular person, especially in the mind of your ideal client. So what I mean by that is the marketing that you put out, the story that you tell, one of the ideal outcomes with your marketing should be you're creating a sense of friendship in the mind of your ideal prospective clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it comes to helping our clients with this particular thing, what do you and the story team do? And what do you have in mind when you're working with a client to build this sense of familiarity, creating this sense of friendship before ideal clients even start looking?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when we work with our clients, ideally, the whole idea is to really understand the ideal clients that our builders work with, and then understanding their personality, the values, the beliefs, the things that that drives their decisions and things in life.
So what do you mean by values?
Values can be just ways, things that they value in life. Okay. Some people would value professional or family more. Now you might say, well, family, everyone values family. Yeah, they do. But there are certain areas within family that people will value more. So some areas might be is spending time in a certain area of the home might be a value, like it might be in the sitting room, or it might be outside kicking the ball.
I might argue like someone that says, well, everyone values family. This is the funny thing about this whole podcast. It's about you are surrounded by people that you're familiar with. So the things you see, and when you say, yeah, everyone values families, because that's what everyone values in your circle.
Yeah.
There's people that do not value that, just for example.
Yeah.
There's people that value adventure. They will go away solo. They'll go away for like years at a time and just go backpacking or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's probably like a lot of our clients, our builder clients, they value family.
They happen to
themselves.
value family. Yeah.
So it's probably because we value family and that's what we put out.
Yeah.
So we're attracting builders that value family. And because we help our builders that value family, they attract their ideal clients that value family as well.
Yes.
So it's pretty funny.
Yeah. I think overall family is a big one. I think it crosses over with everyone. But there are little details that you can really get into when it comes to family. It's viewpoints in life, the way they look at life, the way they look at how they spend their time.
So why is that important? Like if a builder communicates parts of that value, you know, whether it's through what they say or what we show or just the vibe they get, like why is that important?
It's important because that's where you're going to create that familiarity. So there's this professor called Yuri Hassan from Princeton, and they've done studies on the mind where they've looked at they've had someone tell a story. So that they basically did like scans on the brain and what happens in the brain, and they'll have it on like a graph, and it kind of shows how that kind of moves.
Like the waveforms.
The waveforms.
Yeah.
And so they had a storyteller, and then they had someone actually listening to it. So they had two different parties. So in the one case, they had the storyteller tell the thing, and then they'd take this brain scans, and then they'd have the person listening to that story at a different time. Their brain waves would be like this, and then suddenly it synchronizes with the storyteller.
Yeah. So for those listening to the podcast,
yes,
they are observing the storyteller's waveforms.
Yes.
And then they observe the story listener's waveforms.
Yes.
Completely different waveforms. But then when the listener starts listening to that story, the waveforms start matching up with the storyteller.
Yeah.
And they did this on multiple occasions. So they would have done this with multiple story listeners.
Yeah.
That's
so
fascinating.
It's very fascinating. And then it synchronizes. So what ultimately happens is then that storyteller, as soon as they've created that synchronizing effect on the the story listener, then if they continue with the story, that's where someone will be very engaged, they will feel familiar, and then suddenly emotionally and psychologically they'll connect a lot more and grow a lot more in relationship with that.
So they'll almost feel like friends in a way.
Yeah.
A good example of this is, I don't know, you know obviously Casey Neistat, right? When he started vlogging back in the day, so he did a vlog every single day in New York. Now, obviously, like I love New York. I proposed to my wife in New York. We've gone back to New York multiple times. We've gone back to New York with a few people actually listening to this podcast, like some fellow builders. And anyway, so I started watching his vlogs, and religiously every single day we'll watch this. And it sometimes like I had to catch myself because I thought he was like my friend. My brain could not tell the difference between me looking at the screen or me seeing this guy in person.
You might walk up to this guy and say, "Hey, Casey," and he'll be like, "Who the chicken are you?"
Yeah, like, who are you? And that's kind of like the thing you want to create as like a builder or as a business, is create that sense of friendship that where ideal clients go, man, I know you. It feels like I already know you.
Yeah.
I love everything you guys do.
So what does that do then if you're creating that, like what happened with you and Casey Neistat?
Yeah.
But with our builders, if they're able to do that, like what then happens during the process? How does that actually bring benefit to the process?
Well, it makes
the sales process.
It makes the sales process so much easier for both sides, right? So from the builder's side, the sales process is a lot easier. Now you just need a little bit of a framework to find out what they want, what's their current situation, what is stopping them, and how can you be the solution to get in there. So you can create a framework for your sales process here, but it'll be so much easier. But also not just for you, it's going to be easier for the potential client. Because they've got this internal struggle within themselves. They're like, do I trust this guy or don't I? And during that process of them just trying to figure out all these little things, like, should I do this project? Should I not? Should I do this? Should I not? They've got like a million things entering their head. Now you've taken a few things off the table already. They now trust you.
Yeah.
They don't have to deal with that. They're like, I know this guy. I trust him. Now I just need to focus on, like, should I part with this money, for example?
Yeah. Because ultimately, I wish we could actually look into our clients' minds and kind of go, what's that checkpoint in their mind? And they have a checkpoint in their mind that's like subconscious, that they don't even know what that checkpoint is.
What do you mean by checkpoint? Like a checklist?
A checklist before they go, yep, let's go ahead.
Yep.
In their mind, you think it might just be price and how the builder looks. But they might have subconsciously like 20 or 30 things that as they go along, it ticks.
Yeah,
so,
and sometimes they can't even explain that.
They can't explain it. They can't put it into words. It's just a feeling. It's the vibe that you get.
Yeah.
So if you can, earlier in the process, even before they meet you as a builder, if you can put content and story out there that's going to already connect on so many different points, then suddenly it puts you miles ahead from other builders because they haven't formed that connection with them.
Yeah. So I think if I had to like frame this up really like in a quick situation. So let's say, for example, a potential client catches up with a builder and they have not done any research or anything. They've literally just Googled the builder and said, yep, cool, can we catch up? They haven't even seen a project or anything. Now you can imagine what is that checklist in their mind.
Oh.
So let's say it's an hour meeting. What needs to happen in that hour meeting? They've got to like what you do. You got to show them projects. They've got to start trusting you. They've got to see you as the expert. There's a million different things that need to happen in that meeting. Now let's paint a different scenario. Let's say someone inquires with a builder. They have been following this builder for, let's say, 6 months or a year. They have seen projects that they've done. They've seen case study stories. They've seen clients talk, validate
Success,
the builder.
validation, confidence.
Yeah. They have observed the builder's story. Okay. So now all the value, like what are the builder's values? Family, love, this, like, all the different value components. Now they're connecting. There's that familiarity. What do you now do in that meeting? Now you can start talking about the client's vision.
That's right.
And why that's important to them. So it's not about the builder anymore. This meeting has nothing to do with the builder anymore. It's now just about the client, which is good for you, the builder, and it's good for the client.
Yep. If you look at that, it's saved time. It's gotten more of an ideal client, and the results is going to be a lot better, which means it's ultimately a lot better for your business, financially, time-wise, the people within the business.
Team will be happier.
Yeah.
You guys, like, when you finish a project, it's going to be a celebration instead of a celebration of, thank goodness that's done.
Yeah.
It's, wow, look at this. Look at what we've created. We haven't just created a beautiful project, but we've actually created a really good relationship with our clients. That's something to celebrate. So I think that's really massive. A lot of builders feel like they attract the wrong clientele that only focus on price. They never seem to get the projects that they are truly passionate about and that are also profitable. Builders love working with us because we help them create an emotional connection with their ideal clients through the power of story and help them build long-term trust through their marketing system. If you're a builder and if you feel like you need help, book in a story strategy session with our team by visiting builderstorymarketing.com. Now back to this episode. So what are some things that you can, like, creating this familiarity? What formats can you do, So, I mean, obviously, is it like visuals? Is it like talking? What do you do? Like, how can we make this tangible for people listening or watching?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is to, number one, get super clear on your vision, who you are, what you do. So, like, ultimately your story.
What do you mean by vision?
Vision is like ultimately where you are going as a company, as a business in the next 5 years, as an example. So you get super clear on what that looks like. And there's different components within that. It's not just like from a business like, oh, we grow revenue this way. It's like, well, what type of impact are you trying to create? What type of culture are you trying to create within your business? So you have these different components of vision that you get super clear on, because then that will then will then kind of direct you in the direction of where you're going to go. And then it's getting super clear on your ideal client, your story.
I think we mentioned like you've got to get clear on your ideal client in every single podcast we do.
But it's always like that.
I think it's so important.
It's a continuous thing.
Yes.
As we grow, we get even more clear.
Yeah. It's not just a set and forget, but during that time of you getting clear on your business and all that, you should get clear on what's that ideal client target. Like, what should I be aiming for? And you're right, like keep evolving that. And creating familiarity with clients, I think another big part of it is like the visual element. Like, what are you showing? Your marketing shouldn't just be text. It shouldn't just be, houses, product. There should be visuals around what are the values of your ideal clients.
Exactly.
And also showing ideal clients, because then subconsciously your ideal clients that you're marketing to will see themselves in that point of view, in that position.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I mean by that is like, I know for a fair few builders, like what are some lifestyle visuals that we normally, capture and put into the stories of our clients?
Well, it's a great question, because you need to understand that ideal client, and then you need to understand what are the certain things that they value that aligns with what you do. Like the whole idea and the whole overarching thing here is you want to be authentic. You don't want to just recreate. If like let's say I'm not a big car enthusiast, but now I show I am a car enthusiast, and it's not true.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is you want to be authentic. And then you want to go with your ideal client and go, cool, these are all the things that line up with what we do. So let's really highlight that. So let's say it is surfing, you're like, our clients generally are like surfing families that live close to the coast. Then you're going to show that side. If it's nature lovers, adventurers, if it's people that they like tea, they like to go and sit on the front porch and have a tea. It's getting super clear on those visual aspects. And then without communicating it through dialogue, you actually show that visually, like in a very subconscious way.
Yeah, that's cool. And I mean, I think a good way, like if you're listening to this and you're like, what should I show? I think, let's say, for example, you've got 5 hobbies. Or let's just say 3 hobbies, just to make it easy. One is like golfing, another one's surfing, and another one's stamp collecting, right? And then you look at your ideal clients and they're like, most of them are like, yeah, they play golf, yeah, they surf, but no one does stamp collecting. Yeah. Then you could argue, let's just leave stamp collecting out of it, right? Because it's not going to really serve a purpose for the story from a visual point of view to create that familiarity. Let's focus on the surfing and the golf. Because as soon as we show that, as soon as the ideal client sees it in the story, they go, check. Yeah. I kind of get this guy already.
Yeah. There's something in common.
Something in common.
Yeah.
That's good.
We're honestly, as humans, just looking, what do I have in common? Like you as Cornell, my brother sitting in front of me, what have I got in common with you? If I meet a new person, it's like I kind of like you can imagine this robotic thing just trying to like figure out what does this person do? What do they do? Yeah, what do they like?
So let's go back to the party situation. Let's say there's no one that I know there, and now I've got to start talking to some random person, and then you start throwing out things like, "Oh yeah, I did. I went hiking today." Yeah, and then the other person's like, "Oh cool, that sounds good." And then you might go, "Yeah, and I did. I played golf yesterday." "Oh, you play golf? Yeah. Oh no way, I play golf. Where do you play?" "Yeah, I play here." "Oh, now you've got a connection."
Now you're like synchronizing.
Yeah,
and then suddenly, man, you're loving to chat with this person, and you've kind of like connected.
Yeah. So we do that already. Yeah. We do this whole thing, like everything we're talking about, we're doing that already, especially when we meet new people. Yeah. So now it's just about, let's move that into the digital space well before you even know about the ideal client. Put that out there, start building that familiarity before they even contact you.
So, because it ultimately comes down, like, what is the goal at the end? Like we've been talking about this, we're talking about the synchronizing, like if I'm almost like going through everything we just discussed, it's basically, it's being able to connect with your ideal client a lot sooner so that you overcome all that wasted time and really get to the nitty and gritty of where you can have a huge impact on your clients' lives.
Yeah. And you'll really stand out as the builder of choice, or the option of choice. Because remember, your ideal client, they have other options. It's not just you competing against other builders. It's you competing against other options they might have. Another option might be them just buying a house that's already done, perfect for them or whatever.
So,
Or going on vacation.
Yeah.
That's another competitor
100%.
of yours.
Yeah.
You've got to look at like, what is your competition? It's not just builders.
Yes.
Builders is like the least amount of competition.
Yes.
There's so much competition. But if you can be front of mind, create familiarity, you will stand out. And what you provide as a solution will stand out.
Yes.
And they'll go, yep, I need to do this. I need to do this.
So I'll leave it with a question. What, your ideal client, what are the things that they value and that they will really connect with if you were to put that out?